Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.
It will take more than technology and decentralized policing to curtail the menace of banditry. A study by the Danish Institute of International Studies in August 2025 suggests. Last week, Alhaji Dauda Lawal, the governor of Zamfara, one of the states under the scourge of bandits, released a viral video that grabbed the headlines. Following the increase in banditry in Zamfara and neighboring states, which left at least 17 people dead in 2 weeks, Governor Lawal has said, left to him, he could end the scourge in 2 months. But Lawal neither controls the army, which is the only force that can match the bandits' firepower, nor the police, who have long been overwhelmed by the crisis. The Zamfara Community Protection Guard, also known locally as Askarawa, established by Lawal in May 2023, can do no better than Boys Brigade when the bandits show up. Lawal's exasperation is a national malady as communities in the ever-widening cycles across the country come under the siege of criminals and terrorists. Is there a solution to this? Welcome to Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics. Our column today, titled An Unusual View of Banditry, takes a critical view of the research cited above. And the writer who reviewed that study, Mr. Azu Ishekwene, is with me to discuss some of these issues. Welcome to Conversation, Azu.
Thanks for having me, Julius.
All right, the last time you traveled to Zamfara by road and pinned a very interesting story titled Danger of a Single Story.
Yes.
Governor Lawal's, that story actually created the impression of hope that events were likely to improve. Governor Lawal's recent outbursts does not show any optimism. What's your take on that?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, in the last 1 or 2 weeks, especially since the upsurge in banditry, the Northwest, particularly in Katsina and Zamfara states, I have really asked myself how it was that I traveled by road to Zamfara only maybe 2 months ago or so. But I think it just gives you an idea, gives you a sense of what can happen when you take your eye off the ball, especially in a fast-moving, ever-changing situation such as we have with insecurity in the north, especially in the Northwest. You remember the incident when bandits went into a mosque and killed killed worshippers at the mosque and all of that. And that has, that things have only spiked since then. So, yes, I mean, 2 months ago I was there, but I'm finding it hard myself to recognize it as the place I visited, and as I said, traveled by road only 2 months ago.
The research which you reviewed has likened banditry to the caliphate, the Sokoto caliphate of old.
Yeah.
But the caliphate conquests were driven by empire, not mob violence and criminality. So, and burning down of villages. The comparison does not seem to...
Oh, yeah, but that's only a part of the comparison. I think the similarity especially is in raiding and in tribute taking, that and also, if you compare, if you are looking at it in terms of, it's not in terms of establishing state presence or state authority, if you like, that's not how they operate.
It undermines the state.
But yes, in fact, it undermines the state. But it's more in terms of their modus operandi. It's more in terms of their motivation. The raid and the reason why the raid, which was pretty much what
about the same thing
that used to happen, but they do not have an ideology the way the caliphate had, and they don't have a clear ideology, or neither are they motivated solely by religion, which was the case with the caliphate. But in terms of the motive of raiding and tribute taking, which, if you remember, was also one of the reasons why the British found the system in the north quite useful, because there was already in place a system that you could depend on to extract tributes, to extract taxes from the people. All right, that system was already in place. That, in some way, is the sort of modeling that these researchers have sort of likened the activities of the bandits to.
All right. Governor Lawal complained about not being able to do anything. Yet, in May 2023, when he assumed office, he set up the Community Protection Guards. So why is he still complaining?
Well, he and I think this also came through when we had that interview with him on the last visit. He expressed a sense of frustration about the inability of the chief security officer, which is what the governors are fondly called, to do anything, especially when they have to make very important security calls. So, for example, you have a situation where he gave that practical example. If a governor has to, if there's something of urgent security importance that the governor has to take a decision on, the governor will have to go through the chain of command, from the garrison commander or the most senior military officer locally all the way up to Abuja, and then it comes down. And that sometimes by the time you go through, if it's a situation that requires, that if it's a situation of clear and present danger, a lot of time is lost by the time you go by. So he's saying, I believe that if governors had the authority to act directly without reference to the Byzantine chain of command, perhaps they'll be able to get better results. I think that's what he's insinuating. But as I said, it's a bit more complex than that.
Yeah. I have seen comments where some people say they found his outburst rather imprudent, that it seemed to be giving the bandits some kind of headroom or elbow room to move. Couldn't there have been a better way for him to, get the security agents involved? In other words, in telling the world that he could locate the bandits and, at any point in time from the comfort of within the confines of his phones. That was rather imprudent. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the imprudence of his reaction, but I have a sense, also a feeling that he was probably being pushed to the wall. And so, I think it's now similar to a situation that Deng talked about, the white mouse or the white cat or the black cat, that he didn't care whether it was a black cat or a white cat.
Catches mice.
Yeah, so long as it catches mice. I think that's the sort of situation in which he sort of found himself. And as I know for a fact that the governors in many of these states, both in the Northwest and many parts of the country, spend considerable amounts of resources from their so-called security vote, which is not vetted or for which they are not accountable for all sorts of things, including trying to make the states safer. But then when that sort of resource is spent, and then you think that there's no value, there isn't commensurate value, then that's the sort of situation in which you find yourself.
We take a breather as I read you an excerpt from our column. And I quote, Lawal once told a story of how bandits whose plans were intercepted based on intelligence managed to get away before he could get through to the Byzantine chain of military command in Abuja. He is right to be frustrated by the system that reduces governors to figureheads in the face of severe security challenges, because we are afraid that a policing system that enhances governors' authority could be abused. End of quote. You have been an advocate of community policing. Yeah, state police. Sure. And most communities in the north now have vigilante groups, and Zamfara itself has one. How are these different from community police?
Oh, significantly different. I think that the vigilante groups are more or less like ad hoc, and just a stopgap to the real thing. They're really ad hoc in nature, and a quick, if you like, knee-jerk response or reaction to what has obviously become a very dire security situation. But state police will as it's anticipated, will be different, both in terms of structure, in terms of processes, in terms of funding, also in terms of level of authority and training. All right. So all of those things will nobody's suggesting, I'm not suggesting that the state police will be a silver bullet. That once as which is also the point that this study makes. All right. There's no one security system that is a silver bullet. I don't like to talk about the kinetic and so-called non-kinetic approaches. That's really Turinchi Magana. That's just big English that amounts to nothing at the end of the day. But I think it's going to be a major step forward in terms of how we respond. But that, in my view, is not to the exclusion of also examining the social psychology of some of these groups that we are trying to deal with, which is an important element or point in this particular study.
Okay, if, as this research suggests, banditry is not new in the Sahel region, does that not suggest that there's just no solution in sight?
No, it doesn't. It just suggests that we need to be more forward-looking. We need to be more adept. We need to be more proactive. We need to search deeper into the motives, so that our policy response will be different than what it is. It's not, I love the proverb by Chinua Achebe that if the bird has learned to fly without perching, then the hunter must learn to shoot without missing.
All right. And finally, let's talk a little bit of politics now. The current Minister of State for Defense, Bill Matawale, is the former governor of Zamfara State and is Dauda Lawal's immediate predecessor.
Correct.
He is one of the Abuja politicians that might be fighting Lawal from glass houses. Given the impact of politics on this crisis, is Lawal probably looking for help in the right place if he thinks Abuja can help?
Well, he has put it out there, and I think it's up to the authorities at the different levels to respond. And also part of the reason why this article has been written is also not just for the benefit of the state government but for all collectively as a society, for us to begin to examine, go deeper beyond the surface in terms of how we respond to our issues. Politicians will always be what they are, but I think that safety and security is at the heart of our existence as a people, and it's not one issue I would encourage any politicization of, because look at the poor folks who were either abducted or killed in the mosque or wherever it is. You never know whose turn it's going to be. So I think that it's something that requires our setting politics aside and then facing the problem root and branch.
All right, on Conversation with Azu, we always look beyond the surface to find better solutions to all the issues at stake. You can read the full text of this conversation on our website at azuishekwene.com. And please subscribe, like, and share our content. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Julius. It's a pleasure.
Bye for now.